So I've seen a lot of talk, guys, about this indictment of Donald Trump and the charges, and I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a breakdown of what's actually going on here, because there's a lot of speculation and a lot of things that are sort of half true that people are saying, and I wanted to give you, our best accounting of what's happened to this point. Now, there's over 30 criminal charges, so we don't actually know every single one that's going to be involved. But let me walk you through the timeline of events, and you can see, why this case was brought. So this is from Judd Legum over at Popular Info. He says, Trump has been indicted. Some will snidely dismiss this as a bookkeeping matter unworthy of the first criminal indictment of a former president. This is wrong. Stormy Daniels matters. Follow along if interested. At their heart, presidential elections are relatively simple. Voters learn things about each candidate and then use that info to select their choice or decide whether to vote at all. Trump's secret $130,000 payment to Daniels was an effort to subvert the democratic process. A campaign is a process of shaping the information environment through ads, events, policy announcements, and other activities. But there are basic rules. The underlying principle is transparency. Voters have a right to know what you are saying and doing to get elected. If you spend money to benefit your campaign, it must be publicly reported. If you run an ad, you must disclose who paid for it. Trump was indicted because prosecutors believed he violated the law to hide relevant information from voters. Trump, in a statement released by his 2024 campaign, now says that he was a victim of an extortion plot, yet he is the one being prosecuted. This is not what happened. Daniels sought to sell the story about her alleged relationship with Trump beginning in 2011. Daniels gave Life and Style an extensive interview in exchange for $15,000. That would be the end of it, but Trump bullied Life and Style into killing the story with legal threats. Okay, by the way, juxtapose this with how he pretends like, me, bro, I'm the free speech guy. I'm in favor of freedom of speech. I'm in favor of a free press. He has repeatedly throughout his career tried to stifle these outlets from reporting things that he doesn't like about himself. Repeatedly, he's done that and used, legal action to do it. Prior to the 2016 election, Trump conspired with Michael Cohen and executives at the National Enquirer to catch and kill any negative stories about Trump. Daniel's story becomes more valuable after the release of the Access Hollywood tape put sexual mores were now at the center of a closely contested campaign. Trump's ability to win the election hinged largely on Trump changing the subject before Election Day. Per the catch and kill agreement, the National Enquirer negotiated to pay Daniels $120,000 to keep her story out of the press in the days before the election. But the tabloid had recently paid $150K to another woman to protect Trump, and its publisher, David Pecker, balked. Yeah, so you understand what's happening? Stormy's not the only one. There's more people with more stories out there. Cohen conferred with Trump, and they decided to make the payoff themselves. So Cohen reached an agreement to pay Daniels $130,000 for her silence. But he had no idea where to get the money. So he delayed and delayed and delayed. On October 25th, 2016, 2 weeks before Election Day, Daniels' attorney told Cohen that he was canceling the deal and Daniels would shop her story to media outlets. This was dire. Daniels' story would go public, and she could also reveal Trump's botched payoff effort. Had the truth emerged in October 2016, it could have played a decisive role in an election determined by about 70,000 votes across a handful of states. Instead, Cohen drew down $130,000 from a home equity credit line and transferred it to a shell company, which paid Daniels' lawyer. Okay, so let me just say, I kind of disagree with his assessment that this could have changed the outcome of the election. I think it's unlikely that this would have changed the outcome of the election. If voters already overlooked his grabbing by the pussy thing, then I don't think this was going to change anything. But here's the main point is the other thing here. The main point is Cohen drew down $130,000 from a home equity credit line and transferred it to a shell company which paid Daniels' lawyer. Okay, now where does Trump get involved? There's a great deal of effort to obscure Trump's involvement with the payment. In the non-disclosure agreement itself, Trump was referred to by a pseudonym, David Dennison. A separate side agreement identified Dennison as Trump. Okay, so he used a pseudonym and they have proof that this indeed is him anyway. A few days later, Trump won the presidency. Trump and Cohen then conspired to hide the reimbursement for Cohen's payment to Daniels. Cohen submitted fake invoices to the Trump Organization. Trump himself signed the checks. On April 5th, 2018, Trump was asked if he knew anything about the payments from Cohen to Daniels. He claimed he knew nothing. Now it's up to Bragg's office to prove that this scheme was a violation of New York law. We do not yet know the details of the charges or how Bragg will make his case. But Trump's conduct was not unmeaningful, and efforts to hold him accountable, legally accountable, are not outrageous. Trump schemed to conceal relevant information from the voting public in the days before the election, engaged in elaborate cover-up, and then lied about his involvement. This deceit may have changed the course of history. Okay, so look, at the end of the day, this is what's called an in-kind contribution. So this means Trump is spending money here towards political ends because keeping Stormy Daniels quiet is politically motivated. You could also say there's, marriage motivation thing. He probably wanted to hide it from Melania or whatever, right? She may already know anyway. I don't know. But it was clearly an attempt to help his campaign. They went through all this trouble. He made the payments. They committed fraud in the process of doing it. He used the pseudonym, and it wasn't reported as a campaign expenditure when effectively it is a campaign expenditure. So there's a number of laws that are involved here. There's a misdemeanor involved. There's a felony involved. It is a novel application of the law, to be clear. They've never prosecuted a case with this set of facts before. I mean, they've had similar sets of facts, famously John Edwards back in, I think, 2011, and John Edwards ended up getting off from the charges. So this is not a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination. The fact that it's a novel case probably makes it difficult. Also, maybe the fact that it's an ex-president makes it difficult. But having said that, as a general rule, it's also true that you can get away with a lot, guys, in this country when it comes to campaign finance. You can get away with a lot. We basically have legalized bribery in this country. But if you violate one of the few rules that are actually on the books when it comes to this stuff, they do throw the book at you. And there usually are very severe consequences. So after walking you through all of it, this is the best breakdown of the facts of the case that I've seen. My conclusion is I have no idea what's going to happen. None. But there's more. Breaking per the Wall Street Journal, the grand jury testimony of David Pecker, awesome name by the way, has tied Mr. Trump directly to the payment to Miss McDougal and to an alleged broader scheme to suppress negative stories about Mr. Trump during his 2016 presidential campaign. This will be the conspiracy charge. So I don't know how many of you guys know this, but we covered it at the time, but so much goes on with Trump, you end up forgetting things like this. There was also an affair with Karen McDougal, somebody named Karen McDougal. And apparently, there was another payment directly to Karen McDougal. They had that tied directly to Trump. And they might throw this charge in the mix, right? See, this is what I'm talking about. We have over 30 charges. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't know yet, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that is in there that the public is not privy to at the moment. And you would think some of them he's going to go down for, right? You would think some of them would be a guilty verdict. Now, the punishment is a separate question. They can negotiate a deal. It could be a fine. It's possible it's a limited amount of jail time or whatever. But then that leads me to the final point, which is this. This is really something, guys. It's from the Washington Post. The Justice Department has evidence that Trump personally hid classified documents. Quote, investigators now suspect, based on witness statements, security camera footage, and other documentary evidence, that boxes including classified material were moved from a Mar-a-Lago storage area after the subpoena was served, and that Trump personally examined at least some of those boxes. These people said. Trump's valet, Walt Nauta, had told investigators that he moved boxes at Mar-a-Lago at the former president's instruction after the subpoena was issued. The special counsel's team has video surveillance footage corroborating that account. So this is a different case completely. It's the classified documents case. And the general understanding, the position everybody took, including myself, by the way, in the wake of learning that Biden also had classified documents. Then we found that Pence had a few classified documents, not as many as Biden or Trump, but he had some, right? Everybody felt like, oh, well, now it's a wash. Now that's it. Now that case is dead and gone and it's buried. But no, turns out the crucial difference between Pence and Biden versus Trump is that Pence and Biden, every single step of the way, cooperated with law enforcement. Every single step of the way. Trump, now they have new, fresh evidence of clear obstruction. Clear obstruction. And so, for this instance, it might not even be the crime itself. It could be like the cover-up of the crime or what you did after it became clear you committed a crime that might lead to some consequences. It might lead to it. So we're just learning all of this information now. And I think my overall takeaway is this. I don't know what's going to happen in this case. In New York. I don't. I have no idea. I also don't know what's going to happen in the DC case. But we also have over 30 charges in New York. That's a high number. And then the final point is Georgia is still ongoing too. And Georgia, it's the fake electors scheme. Remember that? 11,000 votes. Remember that? That's a whole nother headache for him. So in each individual case, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's getting to the point where it would sort of be astonishing if for every single one of these things, he gets away scot-free. Because even in a best case scenario for him, let's think through this. Even in a best case scenario for him, there's going to be a number of indictments. He's going to have legal problems in all these different places. And this is going to take him, in theory, all the way up and through the election process. And even if he is found like, hey, in all of these cases, you win, right? Even in a situation like that, man, there is so much dirt on you that it really does make it. So as a general election candidate, he is in a terrible place. At that point, even like a Nikki Haley running in a general election would have a better chance than Donald Trump, who just has the stench of being a criminal on him. Again, even in a scenario which is best for him, which is a whole bunch of indictments and then nothing comes to fruition. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but this is getting good. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.